Hi, in this video I'm going to demonstrate how to create tests, unit tests specifically inside of Android Studio. What I have is a simple but currently non-functioning Android app. When I click on my buttons, all that changes right now are the titles. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start writing a test that's going to verify that this stats class that I acquired actually does what it says it's supposed to do. So what it'll do is it'll calculate permutations with and without repetition and combinations with or without repetition. It doesn't matter if you understand the stats behind it. What matters is you write the code to make the test. Now Android Studio uses Gradle as its builder. So it comes pre-written with tests built in. So example here, I've got an example unit test. If you're familiar with JUnit, this should be very familiar because this is JUnit, specifically this JUnit 4. At test runs an assert. This should come back. Let's see how to test this. So there are a couple ways. The easiest way is to right click it over here and pull down and say run test. It'll take a moment. It'll do its thing. And it's happy. If we make an error, it's real clear when we have an error. The other way to run this is up here. If you look at your drops, normally you're used to having app here. When you run this thing, it pops up in your emulator. But if you pick the test you wish to run, hit the run button, it also runs it as well. Okay, so we put back 4. I'm going to ignore this test. Remember that this is JUnit 4, not JUnit 5, so you have to use the old settings. When you're testing with Android, you need to test at least the following. You should check all your view models, make sure they pop up correctly. You should check all your data. Make sure the data goes in and out properly, whether you're reading from a database or a file or from your system. You should check any of the classes that you're using. These utility classes like stats, you should run those. You should test your UI, that your UI does what it's supposed to do. You should also do user flow tests to see if you're going from start to finish the way that you expect. Okay, so I'm going to make some unit tests. So I'm going to check my permutations with repetition. So if you're not familiar with what's going on here, I'm going to take a number of items like cards. Say I have 5 cards, and when I pull them out, how many numbers or combinations should I have there? So if I have 5 cards, pull them out 3 at a time, I should get 125 permutations. So that's what I'm going to check. Now I know this math going in, so I'm going to write this. So I'm going to write a new test here. The suggestion with naming these things is to name your test with exactly what it's doing. Now I love how Android Studio spell checks within my camel case. So I've got 5 cards organized 3 at a time. I should get 125. So I'm going to create my test. I'm going to see what I get. I'm using long because my class returns long here. So I'm checking permutation with repetition. So run this test. Beautiful. Test passes. So this tells me that knowing these numbers that I get one test back correct. You really should write multiple tests here, either with parameters or with an array inside here, but I'm happy this worked. If I want to do another one, and you should test every method in your stats class, if possible. Now, I have 4 there, so it's very possible. If you have 4,000, you can't do that. So you have to randomly sample the numbers to test. So I'm going to write one more just to prove it. Prove that you can. Okay, so this one's a tech combination. I cannot spell today. Same basic setup as before. Set of permutations. Combination without repetition. And since this is for, if you wanted a message, you put it here. Run it. Okay, so I'm getting errors because it shouldn't be 125. And it tells me that right here. Expected 125, but was 10. So let's modify this up. So that 10 is actually correct. So I put the wrong number here. Put 10 in there. Try it again. Now, when you write your test, you need to know valid inputs and outputs. So you can't just make this stuff up. You have to know the math behind this or what the program's supposed to do. If you're testing somebody else's stats class and you don't know what it is, go ask them or look it up. To that end, I've got another one, 16 taken 3 at a time. I expect 560 out of this. I still pass. All right, so I'm pretty good now.